Welcome back to Just a Guy Reviews. I'm Matt Sulla, and today I'll be going over the top 5 movies that I hated the most in 2023. These aren't necessarily the 5 worst movies that I saw this year. Two of them are the worst movies that I saw this year, and then the other ones are movies that I had high expectations for that absolutely crushed me when I left the theater or was done watching it at home. Um, I do think that there is something to be said about having such high expectations, and when it doesn't live up to that, that honestly makes it worse to me than some bad movies. So we're going to be getting into that. Please remember to like and subscribe to this video. Leave a comment below. Let me know what your least favorite movies were of the year or what the worst movies of the year were to you. Anyways, let's get right into it. Number 5, we have the Adam Driver Dinosaur movie, 65. Now, when I first saw the trailer for this, I was so excited. My favorite movie of all time is Jurassic Park. No movie will ever live up to that, especially a dinosaur movie for the most part. But I was so excited. Like, I saw Adam Driver, who I love, with a giant gun stuck amongst dinosaurs. I thought this was going to be a thrill ride. I thought this was going to be such a fun movie, and it just pissed me off pretty much from the get-go. It almost seemed immediately to me that Adam Driver just phoned it in. He was like, oh, I'm going to go do this blockbuster, make a bunch of money. I don't really need to do a good job. I just want people to do what Margot Robbie did with Barbie. Sure, Barbie's a great movie. It deserved it, but it's a big blockbuster. Everyone knew it was going to be a big blockbuster, and she still brought her A game. I don't see why Adam Driver couldn't bring his A game to this movie, unless the director, whose name I don't know, don't care, probably won't be able to see another movie he does again. He should have brought his A game. The story wasn't there. You didn't get like the big threat dinosaur until like the T-Rex-esque, that I'm pretty sure wasn't even a T-Rex, to like the last 15 minutes of this movie. Everything about it was just like it's him and this little girl who doesn't speak the same language with him, so he's trying to communicate like that. Everything about this movie was getting in its own way. There wasn't enough action. The dinosaurs looked bad. Everything looked bad. I was so disappointed with this movie. All I want from a dinosaur movie is like total, at this point at least, total nonstop action, giving me like almost like a kaiju movie, like Godzilla and Kong. I just want to see the prehistoric planet from Apple TV, the David Attenborough show. Just give me that. What this movie gave me was like an hour and 40 minutes of just like wanting to fall asleep the whole time, but I had to see if it got better. I fall victim all the time to this notion that the first 30 minutes may not be great, and then I'm like, you know what? There's another hour and a half left. What if they just switch it up on me? Like, I think about like how Parasite just all of a sudden halfway through the movie just completely switched tones. I think that all the time for movies. They never do it. This movie sucked. I did give it a 30 out of 100. Not really one of the worst movies that I saw this year, but my hopes were so high, and it really brought me down to earth. I was so disappointed. This is the fifth worst, or this is the number 5 movie that I hated the most this year. Number 5, I have Leave the World Behind. It's starring Ethan Hawke, Julia Roberts, Mahershala Ali. I thought this was going to be a really good movie. Such a good cast. From all accounts, the book was really good. I guess I didn't have quite the understanding of what it was about. I knew it was kind of like an apocalypse-esque movie. But like the beginning of it, like everything's failing, technology, electricity, everything's going to shit. And it basically just kind of turns out that's like, oh, the rich and powerful are behind this. This is something that they were doing to keep everyone in line. This isn't that. This was the kind of movie that once they told me what was happening, I was like, oh, this is something that like people think they're really smart for thinking is good. This is shit that like people actually believe. It's very conspiracy theory-esque. I didn't think it led to a good movie. Um, Julia Roberts' character was unlikable the entire time. I know you're going through like this traumatic event. She's supposed to be on vacation, and this traumatic event happens. She's worried about her family. But Ethan Hawke, I didn't think brought his A game. Mahershala Ali didn't bring his A game. These are just like top tier actors that I didn't think did a very good job. I know when I first saw this movie on Letterboxd, like it had like a 3.4. I'm very happy to see that it's gone down since then. It's all the way down to like a 2.9. But I know the people that like this movie like love it, and they think they're really smart for loving it. And I think that's one of the more annoying aspects of a movie. Like when you think you're really smart for doing something instead of doing something for the right reason. Um, Overall, I thought this, like an hour in, I was like, man, this has got to end soon. And then I'm pretty sure there was like another hour and 20 minutes that I sat through. I mean, it was, again, not the worst movie I saw this year. It's just once I found out what was going on, and like when Mahershala Ali explained something, I was like, what if that was stupid. I didn't like that at all. So uh, Leave the World Behind is the number 4 movie that I hated the most this year. Number 3, I have House Party. Uh, this is the second worst movie I saw this year. The whole concept is these guys work for a house cleaning service. I think they end up either stealing something or smoking pot in the house. They end up getting fired. Then they go to pretend they are they're a part of the house cleaning service still. They go to clean LeBron James's house, who I think has a game or is just out of town. So they throw a giant house party at LeBron James's house. They invite all these people. Kid Cudi shows up. It was just bad, bad. I mean, no one in this acted well. The story was stupid. Like, the characters are very like, oh, everything happens to me. This isn't part of my uh, actions, these consequences that are going on. And then LeBron James shows up at the end, is obviously pissed that there's a party going on in his house that he didn't know about. And they play a basketball game one-on-one, and if LeBron wins, he's going to call the cops against this dude. Guess what happens? LeBron James wins. He calls the cops. I think he reads a poem that Kid Cudi read to him. And then he's like, nah, it's okay. It's fine. Whatever. Like, he starts crying. It was abysmal. One of the worst movies I've ever seen. I don't really give like 1 star or half a star lightly. This was one of the worst things I've ever seen. It's amazing that LeBron even signs up to do something like this, waste his time. I mean, he was so funny in Trainwreck, the Amy Schumer movie, that I thought that he had a little more of like a decision-making mind. He's like, this would be good for me, this wouldn't. This was one of the dumbest decisions he's ever made. This was worse than The Decision, which, I mean, to most people, I'm a Miami Heat fan. I loved it. Decision, one of the best sports days I've ever witnessed. But this movie was not it. I know he's trying to get into movies and like producing and everything. This was not the way to go, LeBron. Do better. This was the third movie that I hated the most in 2023. The second movie that I hated the most this year is easily the most disappointed I've ever been walking out of a movie theater, and that's The Exorcist Believer. Directed by David Gordon Green, written by him, as well as Danny McBride. I love Danny McBride. I believe he helped write the Halloween movies as well, which the first one, great. Second two, sucked. Alien Covenant, thought pretty good movie. This was an abomination. I love The Exorcist, one of my favorite movies of all time. Just don't call it The Exorcist. Don't call it The Exorcist. Don't have Ellen Bernstein in it. They don't even like mention the name Pazuzu, which I guess is fine. That doesn't happen in the original. There's just so much dumb shit going on in this movie. Reagan shows up at the end for absolutely no reason. I know there's supposed to be 2 more movies, but it's so goddamn bad. I was like actually sad when I left the theater. You just got to do better when you're working with such legendary movies. I know David Gordon Green, like he had the success of Halloween, the 2018 version, I think. Halloween Kills, awful. Halloween Ends, awful. I think he's been removed from the Exorcist Deceiver, which is going to be the next movie. I believe he's been removed. I don't even know if they're going to continue with it. I really hope they don't. But this was such an awful, awful choice. It didn't have the same energy as the original. It didn't have the same vibe. It didn't have the same magic, which is hard to do. I really think this was like one of the biggest swings and a miss that I've ever seen personally. The Exorcist Believer, like to this day, like I drink a little sometimes and I just start going on rants about the Exorcist Believer and how terrible it was. Like it really made me that upset, this movie. But Exorcist Believer is the movie I hated the second most in 2023. Now, the movie that I hated the most in 2023 was Jonah Hill's You People. Holy shit, was this movie bad. I don't want to say excited because when I saw the trailer, I thought it looked terrible. But I saw Jonah Hill. I saw David Duchovny. I saw Eddie Murphy. I saw Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I was like, I bet this movie's like at least all right. I love Eddie Murphy. One of the like 3 or 4 people that has ever made me cry laughing in a stand-up special. I know that was from the 80s. He's not the same guy anymore. But this was so bad. Like this is the only movie, one of the only movies this year that I turned off because I didn't crack a smile, a giggle, anything. Jonah Hill's basically playing, if you know Paul Rosenberg, he's a New York radio personality on one of the hip-hop stations. He's, a white Jewish guy who just loves black culture. Nothing wrong with that. He loves hip-hop. He has like all these different shows. But this movie like was just such an unbearable version of it. Whoever wrote it, which I assume is Jonah Hill, like you would think he's been around funny people his entire career. Seth Rogen, Judd Apatow, like a bunch of funny people. Like he was in the movie Funny People, I think. I actually don't remember, but like this movie was just horrendous. Like after 30 minutes, I turned to my girlfriend. I was like, should we turn this off? Like no one's even like made a sound remotely close to a laugh. It was one of the worst. This might be like outside of like, like The Room or just like student films or something weird. This might be the worst movie I've ever seen. The acting's not terrible. I'll give it that. Like no one really has to do anything. Everyone's just being normal people. There's no real acting going on here. I guess the directing is like average. There's nothing special going on, but why would there be in just this dumb Netflix comedy that came out in January? But the writing was so horrendous, somehow worse than Exorcist Believer. The writing was horrendous. The jokes didn't land. Everything about this movie was terrible. You People was easily the movie that I hated the most this year. So that's my list. My top 5 movies that I hated the most this year. I only want to do 5 instead of like the top 10 that I saw this year because I didn't want to be too negative. And really, it was a good year for movies. So there weren't like that many that either I remembered like actively hating or anything like that. Most of them were either good, and then a lot that were bad were just forgettable. So I don't even think about them that often. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with my list? Were there movies that you hated more? Maybe something that I hadn't seen that maybe it would be a good hate watch. Let me know. Leave a comment below. Please remember to like and subscribe. And I'll be back soon with more movie reviews. Peace, guys.
God played that trick on you.